Mancini per Nedved, gol! Pirlo, la conclusione in rete! Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete! Un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Ciao tifosi bianconeri, hello and welcome to episode 335 of the Turin Giants podcast. Juventus has just, provided another Christmas gift here for us, our 7th win in 8, which was a nice way to kind of wrap up the calendar year of matches that were playing here. But man, that was a difficult one, and we are here to break it down. For those of you joining live in YouTube, welcome. We hope you're all doing well, and I'm joined here by Frederic and Jack. Without sharing too much about your reaction to the match, just how are you both doing? How are your families after the Christmas holiday?
I'm still celebrating. If it wasn't that obvious. No, for real, like it's the first time in like 10 years that I have like this Christmas period, vacation period really off. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it with family and goofing around and just, enjoying each other's company, which is what Christmas is all about, in my opinion. So I'm doing fairly well. How about you, Jack?
Not too far off. Still enjoying myself. Trying not to get sick. I think it's been too much food and drink for the past 4 or 5 days. So I actually am pumping the brakes for a day or two before we pick it up again. But yeah, just been seeing.
We get into round 2 for New Year's Eve and New Year's.
Round 2.
Certainly appreciate that not all of our listeners within our global Juventus community are celebrate Christmas, but certainly the end of the year is a time for reflection and time with family as we wrap up one year and enter the next year. But for those of you who did celebrate, a merry belated Christmas from the Turin Giants crew, and hope your year is ending as well as it can. And despite the product that we saw on the pitch today, I think this is one of those moments where la vittoria è l'unica cosa che conta in this point, right? It's the only thing that matters. One of our buddies here in the chat, Bojan, indicating this felt like an Allegri 2017-18 win, easy opponent on paper, yet tough in reality. And I think we will unpack that a bit. But before we get to it, just a bit of brief housekeeping. This episode is live on YouTube with our handle and ID Turin Giants official. So you can either, obviously watch this live or catch the replay, and it will be available on all podcast platforms. For those of you listening in our traditional audio-only format, a 5-star rating means the world to us and would be a great Christmas gift for us. And obviously a like and subscribe and setting the alerts on YouTube would be amazing.
Because for people that don't know yet, sorry to interrupt, Kevin, if we get to 1,000 followers on YouTube before the 31st of January at midnight, we'll do a live session.
31st of December. You're not squeezing in another month here.
Sorry. I tried, failed miserably, but I tried. No, at the end of January, myself, Kevin, Zach, and Beppe will reunite in person at the Juve Napoli game. And if we should obtain 1,000 followers before the 31st of December, before the clock strikes midnight, myself, Zach, and Beppe will have the honor in shaving Kevin's head, so he'll become one of us. So get everybody riled up, get everybody to like, share, and start following, so we can have a kind of a event within the event, like an Inception kind of thing. That would be nice. So give it a shot, guys.
Yeah, I guess Jack, being bald is becoming one of the requirements of being a standout member of the Turin Giants crew. So you and I have a ways to go there.
Keeping all my hair. Thank you.
No,
For now.
No.
All right, so let's get into it. I think, Jack, let's start with you. Initial reaction to the match. What are you left thinking? The final whistle blew, call it kind of 20, 25 minutes ago. What are you left with?
Just trying to be reasonable, because we walked away from the last time the three of us hosted a show, which was Napoli-Juve, feeling pretty lousy, knowing we had two really important Champions League games on the calendar coming up. Trips to the Deadlock, playing Roma. And I think we went around the circle talking about how many points we might get out of all those. And most of our estimates were lower than what we actually saw. So stepping back from this would have been an important game not to drop points if we're trying to move in the right direction. So the fact that we picked up a win, somewhat a dirty win, let people call it, I think was extremely important. It gives us a good way to put a bookend on 2025 and try to look forward to 2026, in a more positive fashion, fighting for games, fighting for more important games, because I know we have the stretch of the easy games on paper, but there are no more easy games in Serie A. I don't believe even the Provinciale roll over anymore. I mean, all we've seen in Serie A is teams building and coming up, i.e. Atalanta, Bologna. They just keep fighting for top spots with no one really dropping off, where it used to be 3 or 4, 5 big clubs. Now we're always looking at 6, 7, 8 clubs who could fight for European spots, and the Provinciale are fighting all of those teams tooth and nail. So my takeaway is an important 3 points, and I think we look forward with some positivity.
Absolutely. Fred, same question over to you. What the predominant kind of feeling and sentiment right now?
I'm gonna stay in the Christmas theme. I don't care how my Christmas gifts ended up under the tree, but I'm sure as hell happy that I can unwrap them. So I think that's the main takeaway, because if you dare to relive this game 2 months in the past, and this would have been a game that we would have drawn or lost. Today it was not that. We won. We played abysmal at times, really illogical, and maybe that's the thing that worries me most, and I'll dive into that deeper a bit later on in the pod. But for now, like we said, we're climbing out of a hole. It goes with ups, it goes with downs, and for now we took 3 points away from home with lousy play, and we still got him. And I'll sign for that at this point. What I just want to stress is that we shouldn't be expecting these games come 2-3 months. Like, I don't expect these kind of performances in March, because then it mean that we kind of lost our way of progress, because we're making progress right now, even though it doesn't always show on the pitch. But we need to always take that second step and take it up a notch every game. So I'm hoping for that. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a game that you can forget pretty quickly, but the 3 points that you obtained are very, very important. So I'm signing with Jack on that one. How about you, Kev?
Yeah, I'll just continue building upon that, right? I mean, I think depending on what line of work you're in, and anybody listening to this, there's kind of images and posters of kind of visual representation of what progress and success looks like, right? And it's not just a straight line. Can be the squiggly line that's kind of a mess in the middle, and you take 2 steps forward, you take 3 steps back just to take 1 step forward. But overall, over time, you eventually start to make you eventually start to make progress. And I think this is a good representation of that. And we've seen a better style of play and a better product on the pitch against Bologna and Roma specifically. We did not see that today, but we still won. And there are Juves of the past, particularly of the last 3 to 4 years, where a performance like today did not yield a result. And I think when you are putting in a performance like the one today and you find a way to win, that actually can be progress, even if it's not progress in the style of play. It's not progress in the way that we tactically want to be approaching the match. It's not the quality that we wanted to see across our players and the interplay, but finding a way to win when you're not at your best is progress for this side, right? Because we've seen this is a match where it's a trap, and we've talked about it on here. Getting 3 points against Bologna, getting 3 points against Roma, just to come up empty-handed or drop points with the Pisa, with the Lecce, with the Sassuolo, that it's not the progress that you want to see. So let's kind of dial it back a bit and look at the starting 11. This was not the starting 11 that a lot of the analysts, let alone what we were thinking, was going to be put out on the field. Jack, when you saw the starting 11, particularly with Koopmeiners being fielded kind of in that attacking trident further up the pitch, were you optimistic that this was going to be something that would work?
No. His positioning confused me, as did McKenney's position. I didn't understand swapping McKenney and Cambiasso. That didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. It was nice to see Koop on the ball a little bit when he was in the first half, in the offensive third, or attacking third, I guess. He had a good exchange, I believe it was with McKenney. He had a decent exchange with Openda. He missed a 1-2 in the box. I forget with who. So he did push forward, but I think there were just too many sloppy touches, passes, and he wasn't the only one guilty. It was the entire team. But yeah, they were not connecting their lines, and I thought that was kind of frustrating. I thought there were times where Koop was too deep and times where he was too advanced. And I think that's sort of his responsibility in that role, right? Is at least to create some link-up play. So I think we should have seen more of that from him, considering his starting position.
Frederic, if you're Spalletti, given that you've given Koop an opportunity to get some confidence back and some more continuity playing in the left side of that back three, and then in this match with a relegation side, a newly promoted side, we're coming off a couple of wins, Chico's not making the trip. Are you putting Koopmeiners there to hope, like, as a test to see if this is an opportunity for him to regain that confidence further up the pitch? So I guess kind of a two-part question. One, do you agree that that was probably going through his mind? And secondly, what do you think Spalletti's thinking after this match?
Well, to answer the first part of the question, I indeed think that this was a test. I think this was a way of Spalletti saying to Koop, I helped you in terms of getting you minutes on the team, regaining your confidence. Now it's up to you to prove or to decide what you want to do. Because it's very clear to me that if we play with a three-man back line and we have a fit Bremer, then there's no room for Koop. Which is, for me, logical, because if you saw Kelly today alongside Bremer, two beasts, let's be honest. Then it's up, to Koop to step up. And granted, this wasn't our best game overall. So, I'll let him slide on that one. But you'd expect more from a Koopmeiners with more confidence in that position against those types of opponents. And the thing I'm going to choose to illustrate is the chance he got in the first half. I think it was around the 25-minute mark with that deflected shot. zoom back to the Atalanta days, he would have just, hit that in the back of the net fairly easily. But he didn't. And, to come back on the second part of your question, I think if I'm Spalletti and I have a feeling that I'm going to renew my contract with Juventus, and I'm a coach that likes attacking football and likes a very powerful midfield in terms of positioning, in terms of scoring, in terms of pressing, and you get this performance by Koopmeiners, who you desperately want to revive as a coach, then I think, you can close the books on that, in my opinion. And I also said that in chat. If we took a number of financial losses over the years on several players, maybe it's time to let go of that Koopmeiners dream and consider this a loss and see how we can minimize that loss, because this is just not working. And I think Spalletti will give him a second chance in midfield, but he won't have the patience for the types of minutes that he played today with the performance that he gave on the pitch today.
Especially if we're bringing in
I'll just say Miretti. What did you think of Miretti in the same shoes for the last 15 minutes?
It's different. It's different because I don't want to compare him, because Miretti came on when everybody was tired. There was more space. We were pressing a lot more. It made his job a bit more easier. Also, the fact that Jigova was already on the pitch, having two men on him, creating a lot more space, a lot more fluidity, a lot more attacking density in that regard, made Miretti's, or the role itself, a bit more easel. Made it more feasible to be a bit more threatening in that regard. So I don't like to compare those minutes, but you can see from body language, even speed of just handling a ball, playing it back in, running into space, two different types of animals. And I'm not saying I'm not a fan of Miretti. I think Miretti is not somebody we can count on in terms of Juventus' future. But I don't think Koop is either. The difference is we paid 60+ million for Koop, and we didn't do that for Miretti. So if you look at it from a financial standpoint, and I'd say, guys, come on, cut your losses. Let's see who we need to bring in, or type of player that Spalletti needs in midfield, because we're in dire need of somebody, in a Lobotka type of role. And so I'm pretty pessimistic once again about Koop's future. But you don't know how the higher hierarchy will respond to that. Or it was also pretty frustrating for me to see that, Koop was taken by the camera a number of times when he was on the bench, and there was nobody like conversing with him or whatever. Whereas you saw, I think it was Perin and Cambiasso talking with each other and things like that. So I don't know. I just don't think that Koopmeiners is a Juventus fit in the whole. And I wouldn't be surprised that we'd sit down at a negotiation table should an offer come in. And the main question is, will an offer come in? And to what extent? Because if it's just another loan again or things like that, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, and I'll discuss that later on with Zach and some episodes of the Scoop. But for me, Koopmeiners, no, we didn't purchase a player 60+ million euros to let him play left back just because we don't have anybody else there, and he's pretty decent at it. So close the books on him, move on.
And just as a quick side note, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, or this is only a handful of times that you've spent either listening or watching Turin Giants, Frederic just referenced another series that we have in the Turin Giants kind of community or collective of different segments that we have called The Scoop, in which Frederic and one of our crew members, Zach, discuss transfer market news. So you can also find that in our YouTube channel and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and other platforms. And there's also a new segment, standalone series called It's Black and White, in which Frederic and Zach also take intentionally take opposing sides or stances to pertinent topics. So most recently discussing the topic of should John Elkin look to be selling Juventus, given all the news that we've seen with Tether's offers in the market. So if you haven't checked out those episodes, please do and listen to future ones. So we discussed Koopmeiners, a couple other things that stood out kind of tactically early in the match. Jack, you referenced it. We saw Cambiasso and Weston actually switch sides, even though on the team sheet, that's not where they were listed. But in reality, they were on different sides of the pitch. And then also, it was mostly in the first half. It didn't happen quite so much in the second half. But in possession moving forward, Kalulu was pushing up far on that right wing with Locatelli slotting back into a back three of Loca, Bremer, and Kelly along the back. Frederic, sticking with you, what did you think of those moves?
I think it was a good move by Spalletti in the sense that every game when you see Locatelli moving up the pitch bit by bit, a lot of opponents try to, stop the ball from coming to Locatelli with high pressure, because they know that on paper he's the guy that delivers the pinpoint laser crosses or the passes, or should bring some fluidity in between that, link up play between midfield and attack. So, having him getting out of that space and out of that position, and you could tell the first half as well, created some confusion into Pisa's mind. And I particularly like the fact that we kind of did the same move in the second half, but we did it with Kelly, and sometimes with Kelly and Kalulu, especially the minutes where we're still drawing, where we needed some sense of urgency in the attack. So because I'm trying to reference a comment from somebody here, I'm not sure who it is, but somebody said that, we wouldn't have won this game with Tudor or Motta. And I concur to that point, because it was those types of little details and position switches that made us a lot more effective than we would have been under Tudor or Motta, because that was mostly very sterile, very docile, very tame. Whereas now we took a risk. Kelly nearly scored even. So, yeah. I mean, like we said, the number of episodes previous to this one, you could see Spalletti's hand into these small details, which is not a coincidence given our track record now that we're building up, and we're just, we're kind of making the difference on these little types of details. And I'm glad that we are, because these are the things that separate a draw from a win at times, at given moments. And we're in dire need of wins. So, my hat's off to Spalletti, even though I think the Cambiasso McKenney thing, I don't know why he did it. Failed to see any logic behind it, because both
wasn't it just to give physicality to Torre, that McKenney could step up to him and Cambiasso's like a weakling? That's the only thing I could think of.
You would assume so, but you would also assume that, with the player switchings from midfield back into defense, or even more upwards, I think that he wanted to create more room for Cambiasso, in a sense of, crossing, because I think he was pondering, especially in the first album, on bringing Milik on. And, Milik is was very good, what I can recall from a decade ago, in the air. So you need a good crosser, and Cambiasso is not good at a lot of things, but the man can cross at times. So I think he was, maybe having a backup plan ready there in order to feed into Milik.
Fortunately, just to feed off of that, I think there was space for Cambiasso, but I do think, like you said, we started to see more and more of Spalletti's hand in this team. I think McKenney has played a lot better over the last few weeks. I think he's finding more time on the ball, and I think Spalletti is asking him to push forward a lot more and make some of those second runs into the box. And I do think today, my thought when I saw them switch sides is I wonder if he was Spalletti, trying to give McKenney other angles of attack into the box. So yes, it gives Cambiasso room out on the wing. but on the opposite side, like he found himself central. There was a 1-2 with Openda where I don't think we ended up getting a shot off in the box. It got caught under Openda's feet maybe, but that was him and McKenney exchanging in the box because he had pushed all the way into the center. So I wonder if there's a little tweak there that's just trying to get McKenney on the ball. We know that Spalletti values McKenney, right?
Yeah. But I also think McKenney was he seemed a bit tired lately, even though he played
had
very
a
well.
sloppy first half. He improved in the second half, but he was sloppy. I mean, the whole team was kind of sloppy in the first half.
But I think Spalletti also saw that in practice and was like, okay, I'm not gonna, put all my eggs into one basket. And I'll just let McKenney, do most of the defensive work instead of, because that Toure guy, was up and down the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think if McKenney would have to follow him for like 45 minutes, he'd be beat. So there goes another substitution, even though you don't have anyone, particularly good enough on the wing. You could argue for Zigrova, but he's more attacking minded. John Mario is not even considered, so that leaves you with no options. So I think all these factors kind of made a big impact on that decision. Was it the right one? I don't know, because they both had hard games, to be honest. I don't think McKenney nor Cambiasso. I think McKenney was better than Cambiasso, especially in the second half, but Cambiasso overall was a total disaster once again.
And he also had the assist, right, on that first goal, on the first one, which we'll get to in a bit here. But before we kind of turn the page on the first half, I mean, we're on it in just kind of a set of tight, simple words. We didn't give up much. Yes, they did hit the woodwork, but other than that, I mean, no shots on target, dominated possession, didn't really do anything with it. Like, it was fine. Like, it was trying hard to find the right word to describe it, other than just like fine and maybe a little bit of sloppy, just lacking flair. Jack, before we move into the second half, anything else you'd like to add about what you saw in the first half?
Just a little bit of Locatelli props. Sorry, Fred.
No, it's okay.
Today, I think he had an okay first half. I was happy to see he was running his tail off. Sometimes I find him lazy and a little slow and not as engaged as I want him to be. But today, he, on 2 occasions, it stood out for sure. One, somewhere 43rd, 44th minute, he tracked all the way back and cleared the ball in the box, where I'd slid in front of a shot and cleared the ball. I don't remember if it was out for a corner or a throw. Actually, it might have been the corner. And then it might have been immediately after that, he was ripping someone a new one, because on the corner where the header went off the bar, someone behind him didn't track the runner. And he turned around and he just laid into someone. You could see it on the international feed that he was pissed. So if he's going to wear that armband, I think you set an example with your actions, and he did that on that one clearance. And I think you have to be vocal, and you have to make sure people are where they're supposed to be, right? And you have to take some ownership. And we haven't seen a lot of that with our captains. So a little props to him, I guess, in the first half.
It's just a shame that he's been vocal to Spalletti as well, because Del Piero was referencing something in the chat. He was saying Locatelli was pissed after he was subbed. I think he said something to Spalletti. He did, I can confirm. He asked 2 or 3 times why, with, I think, a curse word that was unaudible. And Spalletti replied in Italian, shut up and take a seat. So, yeah.
I mean, Locatelli has to recognize that if you have a yellow card and this is a sloppy match, which you could end up losing or drawing the match with just one simple mistake, and the other team capitalizing on just their one, like, how many times have we seen it where the opposing team gets one shot on target, they capitalize on that, and we draw 1-1 or lose 1-0. Right. So
I also feel it's pretty unfair, because like, you're starting every game, like, you play more than, in general, 60, 70 minutes a game. You still have the captain's armband. You're still being counted upon. It's not like you don't get any minutes or whatever. So I don't see the sense in him coming off and addressing Spalletti about that substitution,
Yeah,
especially when you're the captain. When you're the captain, you're the first one.
Him. It's
I mean,
immature.
yeah,
Like you
and
accept the decision. You recognize you have a yellow card, and to your point, you've played almost all the minutes. There's an important month of January coming up. Just accept the decision and be a professional.
shut up, sit down. Like,
he finished the game with 87 touches, which is the highest of anybody on the field. And he didn't even play the last 20 minutes. I mean, Jack, to your point, he did have his mark, had some nice tackles. His yellow card was stupid, though. He did not need to do that at midfield when they were not on the break. But let's actually get to the second half. Which started off with maybe one of the most majestic throw-ins we've ever seen. Isn't that right, Frederic?
Yeah, I love talking Juve, but I'm gonna skip this one, and I'm just gonna say no comment because I don't want to ruin the Christmas holiday atmosphere and mood. But that throw-in was, if you were to tell me that this was a movie directed by Christopher Nolan, I'd believe you. It was that surreal, but I'm gonna let Jack delve deeper into that throne because it was truly a sight for sore eyes.
I'm just gonna zoom out real quick. We don't need to dwell on this, but that cracked me up. But if you watch any amount of Serie A, every third throw is a foul throw. They're stepping on the field. Their hands aren't going back. Their back leg comes up. They're all foul throws, and they don't call any of it. So the fact that he just threw it to the other team with what was probably a foul throw anyway, just was the cherry on top.
I mean, you're definitely right. And if people in the chat here and people listening aren't paying attention to that, make a conscious effort to watch and pay attention to every throw-in that you see. Almost every single player's back foot is like up by their hip by the time they're done completing the throw-in. It's
always been like that, though. I even remember in my time, and you scream at the ref like 3 or 4 times when you see the opponents do that, unaware of the fact that you're doing it yourself, probably. But then they don't seem to care, and at the end you're like, "Meh, let's just carry on because I'm not gonna waste my energy on this." But it's comical to see it happen, in one of the most professional leagues, in theory, of the world. So you'd assume that a ref, especially in the beginning, whistles, blows his whistle for that. So, sort of set the tone, but they don't either. So I think the responsibility lies with the refs as well in that regard. But it's comical to see. Yeah, they're consistent in failure. I mean, yeah, but and that's not the only thing, because what I saw today, that we had subs coming on. And usually they check like the boots and whatever and shin pads. They didn't even bother with Miretti. Like, they were like, "Go on, you're all right. I'll trust you." Like, you could have had
the cardboard in.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's strange. It's strange, but at the end of the day, it's comical. It gives us something to laugh over, but in fact, it's kind of sad. You wouldn't see that happening in the Premier League, I think, or not a lot. So in that regard, we have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, that is true. Before we get into the goals, I just want to pause for a moment and thank those of you who have joined us here on our YouTube Live. A lot of repeat folks, and it's great to see you. We have Joe Shant, we have Mohammed 1997, Ali, Del Piero 109. We have Mikkel, Heidebi, 99 Colo. Thanks again for all of your work. And for those of you who have seen the new intro video to accompany our opening intro music, that's all his work. So thank you, 99 Colo. What else do we see here? We had Mitch, who tuned in for a moment from Australia, but he'll catch the video later given the hour of the day. Ahmad Sacco and Thomas Pecorelli. Thank you all. And again, for those of you tuning in to the traditional podcast format, we're grateful for your time with us. Let's move to that first goal. So we have Bremer wins the ball at the back, brings it up. There's some nice little interplay between Kalulu and David. McKenney gets the ball to Zagrova. Zagrova with the nice enters the box. Cheeky pass out to McKenney, crosses it in, ends up in the back of the net, which at first was a Kalulu, was it an own goal? I guess Serie A has determined that was an own goal in the end. But some nice movement on that. Jack, what was your kind of reaction and takeaway from the buildup on that goal?
The standout from that play for me was for sure Jonathan David's movement, and the second or two he held the ball up. Right, I feel like we didn't have enough of that from Openda in the first half, so that I think marked a little bit.
I think that's the first time we've mentioned Openda's name. I mean, we're 36 minutes into the podcast. What does that tell you about his performance today?
Yeah, it didn't have a great performance, but I thought David did really well when he came on. I mean, someone in our chat said something about him like short circuiting or something, and when he was in the box. But I do think nobody was moving for him on either of the chances later on. But specific to this goal, I think his movement was well. He made a nice run backwards out of the box, right, and collected the ball and held up for a moment and played a nice ball back to Kalulu. I think those are important balls to help break lines and bring other people into the attacking play.
Frederic, anything to add?
The thing that stood out for me at that goal was that we were concentrated for a whole minute and a half, which didn't happen for the rest of the game. Like every pass was perfectly weighted with the perfect velocity, perfect direction. You saw tons of different running lines in the same attacking movement play. The hold-up play from David was brilliant, gave enough room and space to people to crowd the penalty box or dive into space with what it for me felt like running lines that were practiced. So it was a nice display of what we build up on in practicing and in training, and to crown that with a goal is very rewarding, I think, especially for someone like Kalulu, because it was a scrappy goal for a scrappy game, and I'd love to see his name pop up on the score sheet, just in terms of a thank you note, or giving him his flowers for the things that he's done lately for Juventus. But, it was a scrappy goal, but a lot of good off-the-ball movement, good build-up play, great velocity on that attack as well. A shame that it was such a scrappy finish, because it would have been one for the books, I think, if it was like one-touch finishing move by Kalulu or something.
Kalulu actually is getting credit. I'm looking at a couple sites now.
I think he officially got it, yeah. But I'm not too sure, because the replay I saw the defender touching it lastly, but it doesn't matter. He was there. He was, he did what he needed to do. Also, Bremer was involved. McKenney was involved. Zagrova was involved.
McKenney had a nice movement though, right? From when he got the ball kind of centrally to Zagrova and ends up on the right side of the box to receive that. So that was intelligent movement by him.
And you can see that McKenney links up very well with how shall I put it, the creative players. McKenney stands out when he's surrounded by creative players, because he's the guy that knows, okay, I can't do all the things these guys do, so I'm just going to focus on the things that I do best. And those are those running lines, the straight and tight passing. These are the things he excels in. And, every once in a while he gets like short-circuited and tries something weird or out of the box, and it works. But that's because of the confidence he gets if he's surrounded by creative and technically gifted players, I think.
And then on to the second goal, where McKenney was involved again at the beginning of that, where he wins the ball. And then we have the interplay between Moretti and David. Ball ends up with Moretti again. Really nice bit of skill in front of the keeper. Kind of loses control of it. You think David's right there to knock home the goal, but no, he's caught flat-footed, and Yildiz steals the second goal from him. But it was nice to see the second goal get scored. I know how much we hate these 1-0 leads where we end up conceding a late goal. So that was really, really nice to see, wasn't it, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. And credit to Kenan, deserved that goal for the effort he put in today. and the effort he put in making that run to the back post, right? If he doesn't follow that, if David's in front of him and he just lets him go and stays wide.
David's on his heels. Like, he's not approaching that with he was not even ready for it.
He wasn't. Yeah, he absolutely wasn't. McKenney came in off his left shoulder, right? And after a touch, which almost put him off sides, we ended up tucking it in. And that was well deserved for all the running he did today. He had some sloppy touches as well, Yildiz I'm talking about, but the goal, I think, was well deserved for his effort. And once we had the second, I wouldn't have felt so bad about Buffon scoring. They were joking about that, at least on the international broadcast.
Yeah, we'll leave it to next week. He can score next week.
How bizarre is that, though, to see just a moment on Buffon? I mean, we've grown up watching Buffon in the Juve kit and seeing Child. I mean, it is a bit surreal. It really is.
It is, but I think we have to accept the fact that we're getting older as well, and I think we'll see more things like this being pushed out. I mean, I already felt old when I saw Chiesa playing, because that was, because I saw Enrico play as well back in the day. So that was kind of a reality check for me. And now, to see that happen, but with a legend of ours being Buffon, is really strange. But I think we'll have to get accustomed to that, because I think we'll be seeing it quite a lot, which is a good thing, because if these players have 20% of the talent their dads used to have, then we're set as a whole. But I don't think that we'll ever speak of the great striker that is Buffon. I think his dad will still reign supreme over in football history. But you never know. But to come back to the second goal and Yildiz as a whole, it was deserved for him. And this match just fortifies my thought that Yildiz has to work too hard, because Yildiz last couple of months is often not as fresh as we expect him to be in terms of assists or goals. And I think if we'd have a midfield that carried Yildiz a bit more, that shielded Yildiz a bit more, or took some labor off Yildiz's shoulders, then we'd be talking about other statistics. I mean, the statistics are great as they are, but you do tend to feel that if it's not Yildiz's game, then it's not his game. You kind of miss that level of consistency that other world-class strikers have. But I think that's just due to the fact that he's poorly surrounded by people who don't seem to pull that weight off his shoulder and run the extra mile in order to give him more space or more freshness in front of goal. So I'm hoping that that's something that, especially in the summer transfer market, will intervene in and make sure that we can get Yildiz to the top level that he can be, because we just need somebody to liberate him as such, I think.
Yeah, he puts in, I mean, it was a labored game for him. A lot of effort without much output or something to show from it. A lot of tricky play, a lot of running, covered a lot of distance, put in the defensive shift as well. Some nice crafty passes here and there, but not yielding anything. So it was good to see him get that goal in the end. The last thing I wanted to say about those two goals, I mean, we've talked about it a number of times on the Turin Giants podcast around, we are so much more effective in our ability to score goals when we move at the goal at pace. And we show intelligent movement and passing, and we're direct in our style. I think at this point, anytime moving forward, with us getting the ball, and if we're at the top of the box, and the second we turn back and cut it back and pass it to Kalulu, pass it to Locatelli, pass it to McKenney, to then just start getting cycled back with Kelly and Bremer, and then trying to find a way to break it down. We might as well just cough up possession and just give it to the other team so we can win it back and attack at pace. Because again, we saw 2 goals today where it was singular forward motion out of the back, out of the midfield, nice passing, nice touches, which led to an attack on goal, rather than this methodical possession, holding on to it for 15, 20 passes, working it around the box, trying to find an opening, and then taking a shot or then making a cross. We're incapable of doing that. Literally incapable of scoring a goal in that way.
Which from
I sound like a broken record coming on and saying this every episode.
No, okay, you say it all the time, but from a tactical standpoint, that makes perfect sense. A team playing in a low block, you're going to be much more successful hitting them at pace. And the perfect example of what you're saying is somewhere in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the first half, right? I think it was Bremer or Turin won the ball at the top of the box. It was one out to Yildiz, one out to McKenney, and he tried to play this really quick ball into the attacking third across field to Koopmeiners. It was a nice move. The Pisa defender, I forget who it was, intercepted the pass. But those quick touches up the field, head up, looking forward for a run, that would have been a great chance, right?
Yeah.
And all the credit to Pisa's defense there for, intercepting that ball. But again, playing the ball quickly breaks those teams down much more efficiently than trying to play that side to side. That horseshoe drives me nuts.
Yeah, the horseshoe passing. Oh,
yeah, but we underestimate the value of preseason, I think. We underestimate that because Spalletti wasn't there for preseason. And if you have, and you can clearly tell that our players, or the majority of them, are not capable of doing this for 2/3 of a game physically. And that's something you need to instill in that preseason. You can't remedy that during the season, but because you have 1,000 and other things you need to focus on at that point, you just can't do all of them. So I'm hoping, and I'm very confident that Spalletti, should he renew and should he be our coach next year, that he'll start, our preseason, or what's left of it, because we apparently also have a World Cup coming up, which I'm just not feeling right now. But that's still in between. But I think he'll put pedal to the metal at that point and try to get like a really, especially midfield, like a block of players. I don't think Spalletti is the type of trainer that wants like one box-to-box midfielders. He wants all his midfielders to be box-to-box players. And I think, with a couple of transfers incoming and outgoing, and the fact that he'll handle our preseason, possibly, if he's to renew, then I think the outcome next season will be fairly different, because you could tell that he's very agitated when we don't. He's very, very frustrated when we do the horseshoe thing, as we like to call it, because we don't know how to do anything else at that point. And he's very, very, very frustrated. And you can hear him. I don't know if you have Italian audio where you guys listen, but I always pick the stadium surrounding setting. And you can hear him shout like, "Sveglia, sveglia, wake up, wake up." Yeah. And veloce, veloce, veloce. Like, he doesn't like that attitude or that approach to the game, because it's very dangerous. Because we're not technically gifted as a team. And should you lose possession in that moment and you lose momentum, then you're just wide open to a very, very sharp counterattack. So I'm hoping he'll remedy that.
Sorry, Fred.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
I was like, I don't mind seeing him agitated. Get upset. Start yelling at them. That's fine.
Yeah.
I do, just to pull a little further on a thread you brought up, Fred, and I don't want to go off on a total tangent, but Spalletti needs to be in sync with management throughout the transfer windows if he's going to stay on. Right? We've had coaches now who can't figure out a starting 11 or a formation because his team is so poorly constructed. Right?
I know for a fact that he sits down at least once a week with Modesto and Chiellini and Comoli, if Comoli is available, present, or whatever. So they do communicate, and the communication intensifies as the transfer market window comes closer. So I think they're in total synergy, but it's always difficult in terms of names and availability and there's so many variables. And you also have Kamoli, handling his short list and whatever. So it's a very fine line that you need to tread. But I think in these months that we've had Spalletti, not only did he convince us thus far, but also management in terms of how he approaches things, his work ethic, the way he envisions a greater future for Juventus, and to what end, or how does he mean to achieve that. And that boosts confidence, especially in management. I think if you have that and you have the confidence of management and you have a very positive financial forecast for the summer now, then I'm hoping that our new sporting director and our general director and whatever Chiellini does and Spalletti are in sync, and just put the heads together, noses in one direction, and just get this team what we need and what we want and what we should have been having already. So
I do think
let's see.
Whether it was Spalletti's accepting or his decision or the club's decision to just give him the 8-month contract, I do feel like that's playing its little part in relieving a bit of pressure, right? Because he can just walk at the end, right? He can just leave, as far as I understand. I mean, there's always going to be a pressure, but he's not fighting for a contract. In his mind, I think that was a good move.
Spalletti, and this is something I heard from my source, so quick in between. Spalletti knew what he was going to be earning 2 weeks after he signed the contract. Like he was giving training, and he already had his first couple of games, and he knew then what he was about to earn, because that was when the month ended, and his contract stipulates that he'd get like a whole month's salary, even though his working month was only a week and a half or something, or 2 weeks. And he then find out what he was earning. So it's not the money for Spalletti. It's the challenge. It's the whole Juventus thing. And granted, it's an ego boost as well, because he is our big savior at this moment, and he's proven to be that up until now. So, but it's just to demonstrate that Spalletti's not about the money. He is about communication. He is about transparency, and he is about having a say in things, which I think is in this day and age just logical if you try to manage a team.
And I will. I mean, at this point, from what we've seen, I will definitely eat my words, because I think, Frederic, we go back to one of the joint episodes we had with Beppe on his Thursday live program. I think it was I was traveling, I think in a hotel, and we were talking.
You were in Finland. In Finland, I think you were.
Maybe I was in Finland, and he was specifically asking, like, who do you not want to see, when it was rumored between Palladino, Mancini, and Spalletti. And Spalletti was the name I did not want to see, given what we had seen with La Nazionale, with the Euros, and the known beef between Locatelli and Spalletti, and not wanting to see that drama get brought in, and seeing Spalletti, what seemed at the time to be stubborn tactics with the formation that he was playing, in a very uninspiring at Zuri's side at the Euros, and having seen Motta's stubbornness and Tudor's stubbornness without modifying or trying to figure out how to actually get the best out of these players, bringing in another coach who was maybe in that same vein was not exciting to me. But from where we are right now, guys, we've got 7 wins in the last 8. You look at the standings right now, which is deceiving, given how many games in hand that some of the other top sides have. But we snuck up into 3rd place. But Inter and Milan both have 2 games in hand. So Inter in first on 33 points, Milan 32 points. We're on 32 points, and Napoli on 31. So at this current point in time, 2 points separate top 4. Actually, if you bring Roma into that mix, 30 points. You've got 3 points separating top 5. But Napoli, Milan, and Inter all have 2 games in hand following their participation in the Supercoppa in Saudi Arabia this past week.
Fun fact.
Again, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Spalletti, in the whole of his career, the most points that he accumulates per season are in the periods between January and March.
And that's what we need. And we've got some friend in the chat here, Juve Bunjo. I apologize if I'm butchering the pronunciation of your name, but indicating very character showing win. All big teams struggled against Pisa. Inter did, Napoli did, Milan drew. Very, very good win. And that is true. Inter needed 2 goals in the last 20 minutes. I mean, they struggled to break Pisa down just as we did. So very similar, kind of scoring the 70th minute and then a second one later in the match. Napoli needed 3 goals to win. They won against Pisa 3-2, and Milan drew 2-2. So Pisa, despite being very low on the table, they have been proven very difficult to beat. They're just not scoring goals, so they're drawing a lot of games as well. So this was...
The sporting director said the same pre-match. Their sporting director was in front of the cameras at DAZN Italy. And he said, well, it's a bit of a distorted image because I think we play very well. We play very dominantly, aggressively. We just failed to, put the ball in the goal. And if you look at today with the slight chances that they had, they were dangerous at times. I 2 headers against the post or the woodwork or whatever. So, I mean, if you have a decent striker there and he heads them both home, then you're talking about a whole different game. And that's just not against us. It's the same against the Napoli game, the Inter game. So I think they're ranked below their, capability. But, football is all about scoring goals, as we can testify to that. And if you don't score them, then you're never going to win. So all in all, I also want to say, because I see a lot of people in general in the chat popping up with Mercato and things like that, hold your horses for the January market. I mean, don't believe everything you read. This is going to be like a fill-up market. It's not going to be something spectacular. It's not going to be something that you should expect 10 players to leave and 15 to come in. It's a very difficult market, especially for us without a sporting director, especially for not knowing, what we're going to be at the end of the season. So it's not going to be an easy one. It's going to be a thrilling one. I can assure you, it's going to be a thrilling one.
We look forward to it. Can we anticipate a new scoop before the end of December? Or do we have to wait for?
I think so. I'm waiting for Zach to return, because Zach is on well-deserved holiday with his family, enjoying some quality time, which I love to see him have. I hope he's having a good time. So shout out to my boy Zach. But when he returns and he's steady on his feet, we'll set up a few dates and we'll get cracking. But expect something from us very soon, because I have a whole bunch of notes I want to share with the audience. So let's hope we'll get something done before New Year's. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want each of you thinking about your player of the match and have some backups in case you steal it from each other. Jack, I'll start with you, and Frederic, you'll follow. So while you guys are thinking of that, Spalletti's post-game comments have come in. He starts by saying, our tempo was slow. The last 6 to 7 minutes and the first 6 to 7 minutes of the second half were bad, as Pisa caused problems with their intensity, and we were fortunate in those situations. In the second half, we were more, we did have more quality. We were more inventive. Zagrova and David did well, giving us more quality in the final third. We were able to score, and at that moment of the game, I felt it was deserved, as we were creating spaces in the box. We ought to do better, and we need to do better. Indicating that there was another element here. Where did I find this? I'm kind of jumping around a bit. Where did he say that? Sorry, because the interview goes all over the place.
No, it's okay. I'll fill in with something in Italian, but I'll translate.
Yeah, please.
Spalletti also went on saying that we need to improve not only as a team but individually. That we, at times when we need to stand our collective ground, we often drown, so to speak, and that's because we let other the opponents
Yep.
dictate the tempo or the lack thereof, and because we are Juventus, we should always be in charge of the tempo, and the tempo should be high because that's when we play our best football, are at our most dangerous and more focused. So I think Spalletti just listened to us and echoed everything we said. So thank you, Luciano. Thanks for tuning in. Click the like and share button as well, Luciano, and we'll be the best of friends for the rest of your tenure at Juventus.
Click on subscribe as well so we can get Evan's haircut.
He indicates our problem is that we are a strong team, but we've got to prove it every time we step onto the pitch, and we were well below par too many ways during that first half, and I think we can all agree with that. He did speak about Koop and Zagrova and the decision he had to make there, and apparently Adon had the flu and was concerned about him making the minutes, which seems to be a recurring issue with Zagrova, and how many minutes does he actually have in his legs. But then indicates that Koopmeiners did not show the quality of someone in that role. But perhaps the change affected him, as we did switching the wide men around as well, referring to McKenney and Cambiasso. So that's
very critical.
On the same match we did.
Yeah, but he's very I like the fact that he's not, overshadowing everything and saying, yeah, but we got the 3 points. I mean, that's not your job. We as people on YouTube and as fans, we have the right to say, okay, we're happy with the 3 points. But I think if you're the coach of Juventus and you see this performance, then you shouldn't be happy. Of course, you should be happy with the 3 points and the margins you gain overall and in the table. But I think, standing in front of a microphone and, you have to speak up and let also the players know that you're not amused by what they brought onto the pitch and that you expect more. Because if Spalletti, and I think that Tudor had that way about him, Tudor was, very lovey-dovey in terms of critical analysis, then you as a player get too comfortable and say, maximum effort. I did maximum result and minimal effort, and that's not the way you want to approach things, especially now because these are key moments in the season right now. So hats off to Spalletti for staying critical and analytic above everything else.
I think he needs to be a bit critical, because the performance today will get you 3 points against Pisa. That's not going to get you 3 points against Cagliari. Or even against Sassuolo, right, who have been giant killers, been playing all the big teams really hard. Cagliari's no pushover, right? We said earlier what's coming up on paper, that doesn't matter. Even Lecce earlier today had a decent game.
Yeah,
right? All the games are critical games at this point. So
with an open transfer market, so you never know. Your opponent today might not look the same as he will be in 2 weeks from now. So, that's another given aspect that you need to take into account. So, props to him and just looking at it one game at a time. I think that's best we can do, at least until the end of January, mid-February, to see where we stand and what we're really made of. So, all Jack, right. Sorry, your big balls of the game.
Yeah. Hold on.
We need to play this soundbite, or Fard's going to yell at us again, and he's going to make us. We are contractually obliged to play the sound job. Yeah, we have to. It's just, we can't escape it. It's in our closets. It's in our contracts. So, yeah.
I'm gonna go,
Jack, starting with you.
I'll go out on a limb, someone I haven't said much about all year or picked all year, and I'd say Jonathan David. I think in his 15, 20 minutes on the field, he had a hand or a foot in both goals. I think technically he received the assist on Yildiz, and then I think I mentioned earlier the hold-up play to bring Kalulu forward for the first goal, I think was well done. I thought his movement was spot on. He was in the box, twice with the ball. Granted, nobody made a run. He was looking for passes. So I think he'd be my man of the match today. My big testicles man of the match would go to Jonathan David. in the limited time he had, he was impactful.
Yeah, I think that the man of the match is going to be won by a second half performance in this game. I don't think anybody's first half performance is going to yield the answer here. Frederic, who would you counter with?
I was debating Jonathan David as well, but I can't pick him, of course, because Jack beat me to it. I was debating Kalulu for a moment as well, but I have to go with Kelly once again. And I know I sound like a broken record, but for me, even in that first half where everybody was sloppy, I think Kelly was the least sloppy of them all. And just the sheer heart and passion that he puts in, and the intelligence as well. We like not even a year ago, we spoke about Kelly being the odd duck in the Juventus team and being somebody who wasn't even gonna come close to the level that we as Juventus uphold. And lo and behold, he's been performing ever since August on a very high note. Especially even today, the dying minutes, won that aerial duel, got fouled, took time to stay on the pitch a bit. It's these type of things that make me appreciate him, and especially the shot. I mean, we overlook it because it wasn't a goal, but you see how, I mean, he shoots better than Koopmeiners and Turin put together. So for me, Kelly is once again man of the match. And not only defensively or offensively, but just what he brings, his whole presence about him. I feel coming from the outside, being the biggest underdog, if ever there was one, to being one of the leaders. And he gets overlooked so often. Everybody was so quick to criticize him, rightfully, because he played a shambolic first, 4 or 5 months at Juventus. And then the transformation that he did was amazing, and I just love seeing him play. And he did his job once again today. The consistency with this guy is unreal, in my opinion.
Second highest rated player on the field according to Who Scored, Lloyd Kelly.
Yeah, and we look at, I think it was mentioned earlier in our YouTube chat here. I forget who brought it up, but I'm not going to scroll back that far. But I think Kalulu was given the official Man of the Match award by Serie A. I mean, look, he scored a goal. He put in a pretty good shift. His crossing leaves a lot to be desired. I feel every time that he steps up to cross, it's in slow motion, and the ball goes like twice as slow than anybody else.
He just hits it. He hits it completely wrong. He hits it and the stance that he takes before crossing, it's very difficult in that way to put power, towards the ball and with your. So I don't know whoever taught him to cross, but it's horrible. It's plain horrible. Like I have no words, but other than that, I cannot, hate on Kalulu, especially today.
8 defensive contributions, 4 tackles, 10 recoveries, 1 block shot, 2 clearances. So I think a solid defensive effort on the score sheet. Crossing left a little to be desired, but that's okay. A good, solid performance from Kalulu. I think a couple other honorable mentions. I have to mention Kanan, of course. Again, we talked about him a bit earlier. I mean, came up with the second goal, another shift in which he's showing his quality, despite, I think, the end product sometimes falling a bit short, but that's often due to the quality around him, not necessarily him. Today, 1 misplaced pass, 36 out of 37. So very, very tidy from Kanan. And then I think we also have to mention Zagrova as well. Having him come in for where Koopmeiners was positioned before Koop went further back into midfield, just really changed everything. And we got a lot more fluidity. We got a lot more directness. You had a player who could beat players at pace and allow others to make the run. And so Zagrova, I think, definitely had a nice impact. And it looked like Spalletti's comments about his defensive liabilities after the last match kind of got to him. You saw him running around in the defensive third, trying to show he could do a little bit more. And then I'll also round it out with McKenney. I think had a nice second half. His first half was awful. He was terrible on that left side. But again, with the assist and contributing to the buildup of the second goal, again continues to show his value. Any other players you want to call out?
I want to switch it up. Yeah, I want to switch it up. I just want you guys, without any, just pick one of the two. Who was the worst today? Was it Cambiasso or was it Koopmeiners? And Kevin, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to let you go first. Cambiasso or Koop? You can't say that they were equally shit, even though that maybe they were, but you have to choose.
I'm going Koop for two reasons. One, Cambiasso was involved in the build-up to the first goal. I don't think Koop had a hand in either of the goals, at least not a meaningful one. So that's one kind of point siding with Cambiasso. Actually, there's going to be three reasons here. So that's reason number one. Cambiasso had a hand in the first goal. Second reason is this was a standard performance from Cambiasso. This wasn't better. This wasn't like worse. This is just like what we get from him. There's a moment of contribution where it is positive, but the rest of it, his brain short circuits, or he just blacks out and forgets how to play football, or he's sloppy or taking too many touches. And it is just frustrating. So this was a standard performance from him. Third reason, Koop, this was his chance, I think. Right? This was his chance to show what maybe we forgot that he was capable of doing. He's put in some nice performances on the defensive side to the point where many players, the media, ourselves on this podcast have been complimentary of Turin Koopmeiners and him starting to contribute, and now putting him where we thought he was supposed to be playing this whole time and just firing blanks and not contributing. He would be my answer.
Fair
Jack,
points,
what do you think?
I'm going to say Koopmeiners as well. I think the bar is really low, and he's been doing a good job of sliding under that bar every time he touches a football. Today he had 30 passes, only completed 80% of them, even though he was on the field for 85 minutes. To me, that's a very low impact on the game. He attempted one cross right from a more advanced position, where, as you said, Kevin, he really should be taking advantage of his opportunity. That, I think, was really disappointing as well, to see him just kind of fold under the pressure of playing in a new position again, I guess. I don't know. I like to give second chances and third chances, and maybe that's a fault, maybe. But I do think you got to cut your losses somewhere.
I mean, for a 60 million euro asset, right? Like you want to continue investing.
It makes
and
it so much more difficult.
But
it makes it so difficult.
Yeah.
Really
I agree and disagree with you guys at the same time. I think if you have this question and you have to pick the worst performance, and you can choose between Koopmeiners and Cambiasso, the only logical reason or answer should always be Di Gregorio. Thank you. And good night.
He is our lowest rated player on Who Scored.
He didn't hold the ball. I mean, there were a number of balls that came towards him or in the box. He just didn't pick up any of them. Like, I don't know. He wasn't put to the test really, but I'm not gonna say the first header against the woodwork that happened so fast, like it was, but he was just nailed to the ground, which I can understand. But like the second one his reaction time was so slow, and then his passing, because we bought him because apparently he's good with his feet, didn't show today.
Didn't see that today.
No, and then the aerial balls, which are 9 out of 10, just for the goalkeeper up for grabs, he didn't respond. He didn't like, and I chose this one particularly because I get a lot of hate online. Like, you guys really, some people tore me a new one because of my Di Gregorio hate. I just don't think he's a good keeper at all. He's a mediocre keeper at best. And having him, and that's the thing that we said on Beppes Cast too as well. If you have a keeper and you try to be a top team, your keeper needs to win you at least 10 points a season. I don't see him doing that. So for me, that's a big gripe. And to come back to the Cambiasso Koopmeiners thing, I think they were both equally awful, but the difference is we didn't pay Cambiasso 64 million euros.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line of it. And if you pay someone that amount of money, then you expect him to perform. And if he's not doing that, and we're 2 seasons in right now, and I think if this is a trend that continues this way, and come 30th of June, I think you need to make a stone out of your heart and cut your losses, like I said in the beginning. So I'm gonna go between the two with Koop as well.
Before we start to wrap this up, given that we're talking specifically about individual players, one name who I have to imagine we've said, but we haven't spent any time on is Bremer in this match. I mean, he made it the full 90 minutes. We saw the impact he had against Roma and just the overall confidence in which I think we were playing, and just as fans having more confidence in our ability to break down plays when teams are getting dangerous. Jack, anything notable about Bremer's performance today, or anything you want to add?
No, just playing off a bit of what Fred said earlier. Those defenders, I was a defender myself, right? Underappreciated. He's back there and he's so secure. You often watch the game without watching him in the back because he's where you expect him to be. I think he doesn't get enough credit, but I think our entire team is more secure when he's on the field. I think we're even seeing an improvement from Kelly with Bremer on the field. Yeah. I think when teams try to attack down that side, they're rarely as successful, especially when we have someone out on the wing who's tracking back. We haven't seen too many attacks. We didn't see too many crosses come in from that side today either. Most of them came in from the other side. So I think he's not celebrated enough, but he makes a difference every time he's on the field. And we often pick out the goal scorer, the assist, the one who's making people miss, and we forget the tackles that he makes, the interceptions, the headers. He almost misplayed one ball right in the 88th, 90th minute there, and Koop had to clean up for him. But other than that, I don't think he missed a pass today or a touch.
People tend to praise Bremer due to his physicality, but I don't think that's it. I think Bremer's always 2 steps ahead of everybody else. And I think that's also one of the reasons why in games like these, in these scrappy, tight games, he's overlooked a lot of the times. But it's because, he anticipates so well and so clearly that you don't even get to see, he doesn't even need to intervene at times, because his positioning or the way he coaches other defenders or midfielders in that regard, it usually helps, for an attack to become even remotely dangerous from the opponents. Also, his positioning in a 1-to-1 battle, shall I say, or duel, is so remarkable that, he never loses those. So if he doesn't lose them, then it's very difficult for your defense to be a bit embarrassed in that respect. So, hats off to Bremer. I just hope he stays injury free, because that's what we need. I'm not going to say pessimistic, but, I was cautious about, the surgeries that he had, the injuries that he had. I had the same ones. I know I'm not Bremer, not even close, but it leaves its mark. So I'm just curious to see how he'll respond if he gets more minutes in and the pressure becomes a lot higher once we get into that Champions League rhythm again with the 2 or 3 games a week kind of thing, how he'll respond to that. But hats off to him. Good game, very good game once again.
The challenging thing is, where does he find rest with Rugani out and Gatti out, right? Because I don't know that once we hit those Champions League games, is he ready for multiple 90-minute appearances in a week.
Kamoli shares your sentiment.
Yeah,
That's all I can say for now.
Yeah.
I think we all do. I just,
we're-
when you're thinking about his injury, right, and not overusing him right back out of the gate, where does he find those rest minutes?
We were very close to acquiring a new defender. January 1st. Come January 1st. That fell true. I don't know the name, but it was a very good defender. It fell true for some reason. I think it was salary or something. Can't remember. And Kamoli decided not to sell Gatti because the Gatti deal to Milan was all but done, like 89%. 98%, sorry. So I think if we see Gatti leave, should that happen in the January market, rest assured that we'll at least get one center back in at the bare minimum. So I think Kamoli shares your sentiment regarding that matter.
And I'm sure you'll be covering that on the next installment of The Scoop.
We'll try.
Well, we've got 7 games coming up in the month of January, which is we've got some midweek Serie A games, and of course the Champions League comes back as well with a home test against Benfica and an away match to round out the Champions League kind of initial. It's not the group stage anymore, the table stage, the first whatever against Monaco.
The MacGuffin.
So we've got our next match against Lecce next Saturday at 6 p.m. local time in Turin. I will be there. So New Year's Day, I'm flying to Turin. I've got some work in Europe that following week, so I'm doing a quick pit stop in Turin to catch that match. So very, very excited to see that one, and that'll be 2 matches in 1 month for me. So I'll get to see Lecce, and then of course Frederic joining you, Zach, and Beppe for Napoli at the end of the month. So that'll be really exciting. Lecce's in 16th place. They've lost 3 out of their last 5, got their asses handed to them today by Nico Paz and just a bright Como side. So it'll be an interesting one.
They were in it for a while. They were in that game. That was a deflected ball that gave the first goal to Como, but I wouldn't overlook even the Lecce game, right? Wouldn't overlook anybody.
No, we can't. We can't. And I was being a bit dramatic and saying their asses were handed to them. When you get thumped 3-0, that is the score line. But yes, I saw parts of that match, and they were fighting. That first goal was cheeky.
If you score fairly quickly against Lecce, then the game's done. They break down mentally, physically. Once you and that's why I think that we're gonna see a 3-man attack. I think we're gonna see a proper 4-3-3 against Lecce. I don't know why, but I think we're gonna see a proper 4-3-3 because if you can really grab them by the throat and score a goal like in the first 15 minutes, then the game's done. Then the 3 points are in the back. If you give them hope and you give them a reason to fight and scramble, then you're in for a very, very tricky game. So I'm hoping, Luciano, if you're listening, and I know you're listening, Luciano, work with me here. 4-3-3.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Our buddy Del Piero 109 in the chat asked for predictions. So let's give a prediction for Juve Lecce. Frederic, you go first. Then we'll wrap it up.
3-0.
I was going to say the same thing. Just to be different, I'll say 2-0. But I do think we're in for
I was going to say the same thing, too. So we can be the 3 of us in at 3-0.
I'd like another clean sheet, though. I think if
3 in the last 4, right?
Yeah. 3
yeah.
And I'm thinking that if we play with Jonathan David up front, I think we'll see a very, very good Jonathan David.
We have to. I feel like he's the better option against the low block teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying convert a Panda to a winger, play a Panda alongside David and Kenan, and we'll have a ball. Switch them out with Chico and Zegrova when they have minutes in their feet, and you're done. But I'm not Spalletti, but Luciano, you're listening. I know you're listening. I'm not going to repeat myself all over and over again. So do what you need to do, and we're cool.
Absolutely. Frederic, Jack, it was a pleasure as always. It is fantastic to wrap up what has been, I think, a very stressful 2025 for us Juventini, and we've gone through 3 coaches. We've gone through, hey, maybe we're in the fight for the Scudetto, to saving ourselves the 4th place with a penalty kick in the dying minutes against a failing Venezia. We had the calamity or the entertainment or non-entertainment of whatever that Club World Cup was, starting the season with Tudor and ending now with what feels like progress. Like, that was a word that we repeated, I think, a lot in the previous post game against Roma. And here we are, 7 wins out of 8, starting to see a little bit more of an identity despite obvious gaps in quality and some continuity within the side. But I'm excited, I think, for what the start of 2026 has in store. It's a pleasure spending it with both of you here to wrap up what I imagine will be my last podcast of Turin Giants for this year before 2026 kicks off. And for those of you listening, we wish you Happy New Year, all the best as the year unfolds or wraps up and the new one starts. And for those who joined us live here on YouTube, thank you so much for spending your time with us. It means the world.
It does. Thank you guys so much. You're the reason that we do what we do. And I know Zach and Kevin and Jack are very, very busy people with a lot of things on their plate, and them, working this hard in order to provide us and you guys with some content and our takes on everything Juventus related, and having that appreciation and you guys showing up means the world to them and to me and to us as a whole unit, if I can speak on behalf of the whole Turin Giants crew. So thank you so much. Enjoy the end of the year, and let's hope that we don't have as many group therapy sessions in 2026 as we did have, unfortunately, in 2020.
Good New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Good New Year's resolution. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. To echo what everyone else said. Happy New Year. Maybe we'll just have 1 coach in 2026 instead of 3.
That'd be a great thing. Auguri, buon anno. As always, fino alla fine.
Con i contadini per Bremer.